Hi, welcome to another exciting episode of the Andre The Beast Crayton Show. Another exciting show and definitely another exciting guest. Today, we're going to go into the mindset of what it's like to come from two different experiences. We're not going to say trauma. We're going to say this is about experience. The first experience is coming out of a culture that's been around for quite some time. We're talking about the Mormon faith. Trying to stay close ties with your family, because that's key. It's about family. But then sometimes your beliefs may not resonate with family. You might see something different, no matter how long the tradition has been instilled. And the second is being a mother. Not just a mother, but a mother with a child that needs special care. I don't like using special needs special attention. And what that must be like. How do you keep that beast mindset when you're trying to come into your own? You're trying to understand why coming into your own can cause pain and suffering for other people. You would think that they would embrace you going into your own. They would sit back and kind of understand what it's like to have a child that needs special attention. But instead, they make it that much harder to stay in that beast mindset. Let's welcome all the way from Utah, a young lady that's going to share what it's like to be in these situations and how she uses the serenity of Utah in the mountains and the hiking and so forth to keep that beast mindset, to raise her child, to follow her own path, despite having to walk away from family members and friends. Let's welcome to the show, Miss, make sure I got her name right, Jennice Wersland. Did I get it right?
You got it. How are you?
Welcome to the show, baby girl. We talked for quite some time and such a beautiful story. And you said, Dre, I want to tell this because it's difficult. Let's call it what it is. It's difficult to keep that that beast mindset, to stay focused with a child, to not get grounded and lose yourself in the same process. Before we get started, tell the viewers a little bit about who you are.
Yeah, so I've lived in Salt Lake City, Utah my whole life. I am 51 years old. And I'm sorry, your production or just the things that you were saying just kind of caught me a little bit. So I'm sorry if I'm already starting off emotional, but I'll get it out of my system. But I just really appreciate this opportunity because I know that I can help a lot of people.
Take a deep breath. Take a deep
Yeah,
breath. Let the window
thank you.
down. You're used to the mountains. Enjoy that fresh air. That's it. Take it out. Yeah.
This is
So,
why I came here.
tell the viewers
But
a little
yeah,
bit about.
so I'm 51. I have 4 kids. They range from the age of 32 down to 17. Beautiful, beautiful children. My youngest is the one that is my special child that does need some extra care, but I love that. It's exactly what he needs, and I'm grateful that I'm in tuned with what he needs. Because I think a lot of us, we kind of just go through our life and we're not really thinking like, what do our kids or what do our loved ones need from us? And so I'm just extremely grateful with the growth that I've made. So I'm sorry, the growth that I've made and the things that I've come to realize that it centers me and it brings me happiness. So
Let's go back a little bit. You grew up in the Mormon faith, I believe. We talked about that. So,
yeah,
um, what was that? What was that like for you? And thanks for educating me on more about the Mormon faith because I had no idea that you also had certain choices. I was under the impression that, you know, this guy had hundreds of wives and, blah, 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 blah. It's amazing what television shows us, but you're telling me that's not always the case, but still there's things about that faith, your family tradition that you felt just wasn't right for you. When did all this take place? When did you start having a shift in the way in which you felt this wasn't right for you? You had to find your own path.
Well, I feel like I've always struggled. Obviously, born and raised in the LDS Mormon community and culture. It's very strict, like any other religion, and they want you to follow. And I just have always struggled. Like, I've always thought, and I've really pondered this a lot before I decided to just really cut that cord, is like, why can I not just a good Mormon? Is the role model of my mom. And a good Mormon, when I look at her, is someone that puts the Mormon God first. Temple work, there's a lot of things. There's, just accepting church callings wherever needed. Really putting, from my experience, putting your religion before anything else was a major turnoff to me. And I think a lot of people do that. And I think a lot of people are struggling in this religion, in that, we're spread so thin as it is, and service is beautiful, but there needs to be a balance. And so I've always struggled with that. And if anybody's Mormon or an ex-Mormon, you'll understand this little thing I'm going to say. I share with everyone, and I have for years and years and years, being attached to the Mormon culture, because they want to give me responsibility and make me, like eat, breathe everything that's religion. And I'm like, no, I can't, and I don't want to. But my quote is always that I say is, I hold on to the iron rod with a bungee cord.
What does that mean? What does that
So
mean?
that means, like, the iron rod is that you are following in the footsteps of what the Mormon God wants you to do. All these steps. Don't drink coffee. Don't drink alcohol. Don't swear. Don't don't go to church on Sundays. All these things that you're expected to do, there's so much guilt and shame within that religion, in my opinion. I'm not speaking for anyone else. That I just had to release it. So yeah, so I am the type of Mormon that, I'm not going to I have a good heart, but if I choose to have a drink of coffee with friends or tea or a glass of wine, I don't want to feel like I am a bad person and I'm going to hell. And that is how they make you feel. Me, Jennice, 51 years old. I'm also a May birthday, which I'm a Taurus. It does not fit in with my energy. And it just feels so good to finally get to that point, because again, I'm 51. Let me remind you, it has taken me 51 years to finally convince myself that I want to detach myself from this religion. Not out of hatred, not out of evilness, out of having so much more love for myself and the God that I choose to follow that brings me happiness. And that is not attached to Mormonism for me. So that is where I'm at.
Were you, now, I don't know much about it. You do.
Yeah.
Were you married alone with one man? Would they have multiple wives? Like, I believe that's part of the tradition there.
No. And again, there's a lot of levels of, again, I can't talk for anybody else that's lived the polygamy lifestyle. That is not attached to my world, and it never has been. That's actually shunned upon. But there's a lot of different religions and a lot of people that believe that. But no, I'm not that kind of Mormon, and never have been, and my family's not that kind of Mormon. So
one spouse.
What kind of Mormons are there? Because I was under the impression, and we had a couple Mormons on my show.
Yeah.
You know, they said that's part of their Mormon religion. So you're telling me that there's different sectors of being a Mormon?
Well, I don't want to go too deep with that just because I don't have the proper knowledge, nor do I don't even want to, I don't care to invest my time and energy into that type of lifestyle. Polygamy is not my cup of tea. Polygamy has never been something that I've been exposed to, and I don't choose to expose myself to that. I think that's a level of whatever that is. I don't care to dive down that rabbit hole. So yeah, there's different kinds of, if you're an LDS Mormon, it's not polygamy, and you can research all that if you want to, explore yourself. But yeah, there's polygamy. That's a different kind of, different kind of shit. And then there's, just the normal religion that I came from, which is the LDS Mormon community. So
how does your family feel about what's going on? Was your husband a Mormon? I mean, because you're feeling a different vibration than your culture. How was your family and your ex-husband? How is all this tying into all of a sudden you having a different shift in vibration and going somewhere else off the
well,
spectrum?
honestly, I really think that that's why it's taken me so long to get to this point. I think I've always been, I don't know, trained and to just please people and not have an opinion and don't ask too many questions and all these things. Like, so just to take you back a little bit of what I haven't shared about my life, I was married 18 years and I ended up divorcing him in 2018 for various reasons, nothing attached to Mormonism. But he also struggled with the Mormon faith and had left the religion, obviously before I did. But he passed away 3 months after our divorce was final. So that was all in 2018. So a lot of interesting things. But as my family is learning, because I haven't shared it, I shared it with the most important person, which is a few of my sisters and my mom. And everybody just, I think if you go about this in such a healthy way and a positive and uplifting way, you can't argue with happiness. So
Let
truly, what?
me ask you a question. You mentioned being married for 18 years. I'm sorry about the loss of your husband prior to the divorce being final and so forth. But
Yeah.
is that was your lifestyle based not only on the religious side, but what were you able to do while you was married? Because if you just at 51 years old,
Yeah.
if you was in a situation to where the husband did everything, did you have a career to follow? And then what was your life like leaving this faith,
Yeah.
coming into your own? We're gonna get to your child in a minute.
It's okay.
How do you begin to navigate when, from what I'm hearing, you really didn't have an identity? Your identity was based on what the church said that you was supposed to be, which is what? Stay home mom, follow the Mormon faith, and do nothing else. Be seen, not heard. Be seen, not heard.
Yeah, they like to keep you quiet. They like to keep you small. And I played that part for a long, long time. Now, for me, I feel really, really, really grateful. And again, this comes back down to just my personality and what I said before. I hold on to the iron rod with the bungee cord. So when I met my husband, we were living the same lifestyle. We both came from the Mormon community and religion, but we were both not fully practicing. We were just showing up when needed to just keep our family to not interrogate us or make us feel guilty. Because again, a lot of guilt and shame with this religion. If they see you getting off that path, that's their job to reel you back in and to keep you small. So I'm really grateful that I had the opportunity to be with someone that really opened my eyes to what it could be like with leaving this religion. And I wasn't ready for it when we were married. So it did cause some, marital arguments because I was still drinking that Mormon Kool-Aid where I was like, oh no, we need to be taking our kids to church and we need to all the stuff that they expect from you. And he finally got to that point where he's like, no, I'm done. And I, at the time, obviously, and I'm sure this is what my family is thinking at the moment, oh my gosh, he's falling. Oh, I need to save him. And at all these things. In reality, I want to just give him a clap for the stuff that he exposed me to. And I'm finally, it's a 7-year itch, 2018 to where I'm at now, 7-year itch. I feel like I'm finally seeing my true potential. But yeah, like you said, my whole life was planned for me. I remember when I graduated from high school, I grew up really struggling in school. I didn't do well in school. I had a lot of learning disabilities and just comprehension. So, so by the time I graduated, obviously I had grown a little bit more, but, I remember my relatives saying like, Jennice, you don't need to go to college. You'll get married and your husband will take care of you. You're going to be a stay-at-home mom and that's your job. That's what you're here for. Okay. So you bring that to where my life is now. No college degree, not really. Scared to go there because that can bring up a lot of triggers for me because that's not natural for me.
Right.
Just a lot of things. So I think now that I'm finally, it's never too late. Do you know what I mean? I have this fire lit under me to where I'm like, I'm not expecting anybody to knock down my door and be like, hey, here's an amazing job, career that we want to give you because of what you grew up in. And it's kind of kept you small. I'm not doing that anymore. I am putting myself out there in business wise. I have to. Do you know what I mean? So I think I'm so grateful to where I'm at right now because every single day I have a reason to get up and to make my life and my future better for me and my family. And I know that it will come my way. I know it will. I am manifesting it and it'll happen.
You mentioned your other children,
Mhm.
but you also mentioned that this is a faith-based community. It's a faith-based driven society, period. From
Right.
family all the way down. How do you deal with your children now? Because they're still going to be exposed to this unless you basically pretty much isolated them from the system. I'm not going to call it brainwash. Call it the religious system. How are they how are they now? How is your family accepting what's going on? And your children, not the youngest, but your children that are older. How is all this resonating with them now?
Honestly, with stuff that I post on social media about my growth and about where I'm at right now, I'm not going to convince people of my happiness. I'm going to show them. And I think that takes off some pressure. I think that takes off a possible, trigger and trauma and just words that don't need to be said, because as much as I've taken this time to really process it and to really own what is going on inside of me, I want my kids to see that. I want them to see it and be like, oh my gosh, look at what mom is doing. She is a totally different person. I would never be up hiking as much as I am and meditating and getting out of the chaos of the city and just going and just having my time. Do you know what I mean? I honestly, I know this is really bad, but I'm a Taurus. I don't care what people think. And I think for 51 years, I have thought about that. And I have cared so much about what people think about me. I don't care. I am truly, truly, truly happy. And if people want to surround me in this new version of myself, you're going to see a totally different person.
What were the things that you thought people were thinking about you for up to 51 years? I mean, because if you're surrounded by a Mormon faith belief, I mean, what could they think that was different, or why do you think they was thinking things?
Just because for a long, long time, I was still small. I was still kind of like, do you know what I mean? Hiding in my corner, afraid to just be myself. Afraid of like, oh, is this going to make someone mad, or am I going to disrespect someone? Thinking so much about what everybody else thinks.
Mhm.
I'm just going to take a deep breath with that, like it doesn't matter. I don't care what other people think. I know I've lived half of my life in misery and living under what other people want me to think and process and take on, and carry that on to my own children. No, I don't want anything to do with it, because as much now, no, let me stop you. I'm getting a little like testy here. I don't want to bring this energy. I've learned so much. I'm going to take everything that I learned from this religion and the things that I believe in, take that, and then make it better with what I believe.
Mhm.
So,
What are that you believe now?
oh, I believe in just loving everyone, not judging. Mormons are very quick to judge. I, just going out and just like, I grew up with a lot of people of like, you walk down a street and people will comment on how people look or how they just look different. And they make a negative comment about it. That has always pushed my buttons, because I'm like, look at yourself. Like, before you get there, is this making you feel better about yourself? Like pointing out everybody else's flaws.
Mhm.
Let's look at your own flaws first,
Mhm.
because we're all on this planet at different levels of growth. And I don't want to be in that group anymore where you're looking at someone and you're judging them. No, I want to look at that person and come up with my own story. Why did that person end up there? What's happened to them? And just come out of it with love and empathy and compassion. That's
What about the loss of your what about the loss of the people that you met along this lifelong journey so far for 51 years? What about your mom, your dad, your sisters, your brothers? If they're steadfast into a system of religious narcissism, I mean, how are they perceiving you now?
Honestly, after talking to my mom in just a very calm way and just being able to process it in a way that she'll understand,
Mhm.
honestly, her words to me were beautiful. She's like, Janice, I don't care what gods you follow, as long as you're praying, as long as you're happy. That's what I want. I want my happy daughter. And if this is what's going to bring you happiness, I'm here to support you. Done
What
and
has been
done.
the biggest disappointment from someone who doesn't understand what you're going through? There can't always be happy rainbows with you walking away from finding your own path. So out of that question, which has been the most disappointing part of it, of a person that you thought would at least, or people or organization that you thought would understand what you're going through and they haven't accepted it well?
You know what? That's not my problem. As much as you guys have carried on your, um, I don't know. Do you know what I mean? Like, what am I trying to say? As much as you've been trying to brainwash me for all these years and like, this is what you believe in, if that truly is bringing you happiness, keep doing what you're doing. I'm not here to change your mind. All I'm telling you is where my heart is, because I want to properly communicate that with you, because we also at this point need to set up healthy boundaries, because we're
Mhm.
definitely a family. I come from a family of 11 kids. Now that's two families, because my dad died when I was 15. My mom got remarried to a guy that had 6 kids. We had 5. So now we're 11 kids. we have a lot of division in our family. So I'm not the first one to leave. I just think that I'm going to use my platform and my growth in being the voice for every other non-LDS Mormon family member out there, to where we can come together and be together as a family without religion being attached. Like I said to my mom, I said, Mom, you have a lot of non-LDS friends. Do you go to lunch with these friends and spend time with them, and you're constantly talking about Mormons and what, your church calling and your beliefs? And she's like, well, no. Okay, that is where my boundary is. I don't want to show up, making time for my family and having the whole conversation, or at least 85% of it being about religion and Mormons. It's a waste of my time. You're talking to the wrong person, because I'm not drinking that Kool-Aid anymore, and you're disrespecting me. So as much as you want me to respect your religion and what you believe in, I have done that for 51 fucking years. Sorry. It's now my time for you to respect my healthy boundaries and moving forward. And honestly, I haven't put myself in that situation yet. So now that I've properly communicated what I expect moving forward, we will see what happens there. I honestly have no idea, because I'm not expecting perfection. They've been able to do this with me for so long, and I've just nodded my head in agreement, because I don't want to stir up any drama and have an opinion, and you know what I mean? I don't want to bring that negative energy. So I've supported them, but it's their time to now support me, because I do think that what I am bringing to the table in my family is a lot more happiness, because we can all just be ourselves,
Okay. Let's talk about, before we wrap up, let's talk about the trials, the tribulations, the happiness that it takes to now have a special needs child. How did your
Mhm.
child wind up having special need issues to begin with?
All right, this is a crazy story, and the anniversary, if you want to call it, his accident. He was in a tragic accident. My son was 16 months old, June 30th, 2019. No, sorry, I have my dates wrong. 2009. He was born in 2008, so he was very young. My husband had just gotten this half-ton beater truck that he had bought for our son, who was 16 at the time. And they were just setting some stuff up in this truck and whatever. And they didn't realize that our little boy had crawled underneath the vehicle. And a half-ton truck, full tires, went over his head.
Wow.
Yeah. That accident.
Okay.
Yeah. That accident,
Okay.
caused his main carotid artery to rupture. Life flighted to Primary Children's Hospital here in Salt Lake City, Utah, where we didn't know. We didn't know if he was going to survive this accident. But he spent 2.5, 3 weeks there. And for the most part, he's had a full recovery with some, obviously some issues with some brain injuries and things that he's just going to have to deal with. So that's what's caused him to be a little bit on the spectrum and needing just a lot of tender love and care, So.
Wow. What kind of impact was this on you and your husband? Because I'm pretty sure this was devastating on him as well.
Yeah, because in that scenario, my 16-year-old felt obviously a lot of guilt and was so angry at himself for this happening that he was to the point where it started obviously affecting his mental health. And so for a while there, we didn't know if we were going to lose 2 sons through this, So yeah, I don't think I've ever been the same, because that was such an experience of seeing your baby covered in blood and gasping for air, and not knowing. But he's a miracle. He's a miracle child. And there's so many people out there that have lost, a child or someone to a tragic accident like this. And I just am really grateful that, there's a reason why he's still here, and he has a beautiful soul. And I am so grateful that I'm his mom, and that I get to watch him go through all these different levels. It's every step for me, like, oh my gosh, I never would have experienced this if he wasn't here. Everything, you just don't take things for granted, and you just absorb every moment you possibly can.
How do you wind up keeping your own serenity, so to speak, to keep your destination in sight? The loss of your husband, a divorce,
Mhm.
almost losing two sons. Now you're dealing with your son that needs the extra tender love and care. How do
Yeah.
you find time to keep everything in focus? Take me down that road. How do you keep everything together?
For me, leaving my cult is what I call it. Leaving my religion. Setting proper goals for myself. Now, none of this came natural to me, obviously, or I would have done it years ago. But it's all about timing and, just nature for me. Getting out of my comfort zone, going for walks, going for hikes, just, like taking my socks and shoes off and just centering myself with the earth and just the smells and, like, do you know what I mean? There's so much beauty around us. We just have so many distractions that are just take us away from really focusing on why I am here. Why am I on this planet? I'm here to learn. I'm here to grow. I'm not doing everything perfect, but what I have noticed is that what I am doing, which is, getting out and moving my body in nature, meditating, yoga. Honestly, what it comes down to is just being able to escape from my chaotic life and centering myself. That brings
Mhm.
me the most joy. It gives me time to write my thoughts down and to process and to set goals. Like, we're all here to keep learning. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never going to be just comfortable, because that's boring. That's not growth. I want to constantly surround myself with podcasts and beautiful friends and beautiful surroundings and my beautiful child. And I want to just look at it where I'm like, yeah, I could be stressing about a gazillion things. But I know if I take care of my emotional needs and my physical needs and my heart, I'm gonna not feel so foggy. I'm gonna be able to not just talk about it in my head. I'm sure all of us do this. Oh, I need to do this. Oh, I need to do this. No, I'm actually writing those down because I don't want to lose that thought. And I really want to come back to it when I can really process it. Nature does
So
that. Nature does that for me. Getting out and walking does that for me.
before we wrap up, take me down a difficult part of your life. Like, now that all this is done, it can't be easy. You're dealing with your son.
Yeah.
And so, like, for people that don't know, is what I'm trying to say. Give me a difficult moment that you had to deal with that somebody would never think that you got to deal with.
Well, I love that you asked that question. I will take my husband. He was my best friend for over 18 years. Now, we always had our issues. He was a type A personality, a police officer, military, meathead, just, aggressive to a fault. Now, getting to the point where I'm full on Mormon mode. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have a lot to go off of. I was so grateful that I had my dental background to be able to go back to work, but that gave me the confidence to finally have enough courage to walk away from this toxic relationship. It served a purpose for me, and I finally was done. And leaving him, choosing to divorce my best friend, it wasn't out of infidelity. It wasn't out of so many things that you would think that would take someone to be like, bye-bye. No, I remember telling my daughter at the time when she was 14, 15. I'm like, Brooke, we get one life and I want to be happy. I'm not happy. And I want you guys to be happy. If I keep us in this little box of toxic, walking on eggshells, not a lot of happiness, what am I doing? I'm stopping my growth. I'm stopping my children's growth. It was time to walk away, but that was the hardest thing I've ever done. But Heavenly Father knew that I could handle it. I really believe that because, he had to give me that time, knowing that my husband's life was going to end soon. I didn't know that. Do you know what I mean? I was just needing to step away. But he gave me that opportunity and that time to figure out how to pay bills on my own. Because again, my husband did all this stuff. How do I take care of a home by myself? Do you know what I mean? How do I budget? He did all this stuff. Again, type A personality. I had the opportunity to learn all this stuff before he passed away. And he was able to see that I'm actually a lot stronger than he wanted me to be. Because again, they kept me so small. I am so grateful that I left. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have been able to do all these things. But then let me just say this. I also don't know why he was obviously taken away at his age. He was, young. He was in his 40s. But if he would still be on this planet while I am trying to repair the damage that he did or we did together, I'm able to separate that because I don't have him in my head and my ear, and he can't text me or call me. And do you know what I mean? Because again, he would want to keep me small. It is honestly, I look at it now where I miss him so, so, so much. And I pray and talk to him often, but he wasn't supposed to be here in this time. He did what he needed to do and he's moved on to wherever he's at. And I'm left to pick up the pieces and put together my own puzzle. And so, yeah, I guess that's my message, in that was really, really, really hard. And I didn't think that I would be able to get out of that. My mental health really struggled for a long, long time out of the guilt of divorcing him. And then he died. And yeah, I don't look at that now as much as it still hurts because I do miss him.
Do you miss
I'm so proud. I'm so proud of myself. But I'll give myself a pat on the back.
Yeah. My deepest sympathies go out to you for the loss of your husband, the loss of your best friend. You seem to be moving along beautifully in your journey.
Yeah.
You're definitely the pieces and so forth. What should the viewers get from your message? That's the biggest issue. You let me do two parts of this before we wrap up. What's your purpose? That's the first question. What's your purpose now? You've been through so much. You're in touch with your connection to the universe, to God, or whatever. You definitely now have gotten your beast mindset back.
Yeah.
But the bigger question here is, and I'm gonna ask you this question: with all of this information, what's your purpose now? Because you said we all have a purpose. What's your purpose now?
Pure joy, happiness. If you don't come across me and I don't put a smile on your face, I need to work harder because I want to spread joy, love, empathy, compassion, and I want to teach people that you can love yourself. You can love yourself beyond religion. You can love yourself beyond the way you were raised and brought up to think. You need to do you. It's that time. Do you know what I mean? There's so much evilness in the world. There's so much to be sad about. But there's so much if you just disconnect and look around. There's so much beauty. And I promise that if you get yourself out there and get off the couch and get off your phones and just work on yourself and just get out and breathe that fresh air, get those steps in, work hard, because it's not about fitness for me. It's about how I feel and how I'm showing up as a person. So make changes.
I like that.
Don't keep doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting a different result. I did that for 51 years. I'm not doing it anymore. I want happiness. I want growth. I also want hard times. I want to keep having some struggles so that I can grow. Do you know what I mean? I think if you're scared of that, you're not ready to keep going. So I think if you just own it and you're just like, yeah, life's hard. You're going to have good days and bad days. I don't wake up every day happy and chipper. I'm a Taurus. I grow up, I wake up and be like, oh crap, we need to zen out today. Do you know what I mean? But it's a choice. It is a choice. You can choose to stay in misery and be unhappy, or stop doing the same things over and over again and get out and do something different. So,
you know what, Jennice, that sounds like a beautiful words for people to follow and go by. It definitely has kept you in that beast mindset. I love the shift. I love the fact that you're moving on, that you're empowering people, that you said something that was really profound, that your mission is to make sure that you put a smile on somebody's face. If you don't see the smile, then you need to work harder to get that done. Thank you so much for taking time to come on to the show and share such a beautiful story. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, another exciting show, another exciting guest. This has been another, and I do mean another, exciting episode of the Andre Crayton Show.